staple. Staple with me.
I will. I will staple with you. Welcome to Comics in the Making. My name is Ryan Holgerson. I'm the creator of Slackmatic, and today I'm going to be showing you how I printed and, of course, stapled my latest comic, The Egg. Now, I've been printing and publishing comics for the last 25 years. I've done full-size comics, I've done big square-bound comics, and I've done a bunch of mini comics where I've just printed everything myself, put it all together. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. Now, I'm not going to really get into the actual creative process of the book. So scanning, the art, all of that. This is all going to be post that part. But I'd love for you to be able to take some of this and make your own comic with it. All right, so let's get into the first step. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, once I know the format and everything of my book and the artwork's all done, is I'm going to make a dummy copy. And I'm making this so that I know that when I send the files to the printer, that I'm going to have the right pages on the right pieces of paper. So that's a big thing to talk about. So every saddle stitch comic out there, every 4 pages is made from one piece of paper. And so that means that whatever comic you're doing, you have to have it divisible by 4. So for the egg, I had a 21-page story. So 21 pages isn't going to work because it's not divisible by 4. So what I did was I added 3 pages to that to get to 24. So I knew I had a 24-page comic, and then I knew I had a cover and a back cover. So that's going to be 7 pieces of paper that we are folding and then putting together to make its own comic book. So what I did was I just took 7 pieces of typing paper and I just wrote on the front. I wrote cover. I've got inside, and then just 1 through 24, and then the back and the back cover. And what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to use this to make sure I'm putting those right pages on there. So once I've got that together, I send my files from Clip Studio Paint. I email them to myself as PNGs. And I like to send them as PNGs because you can reduce and enlarge a PNG and not ruin any of the quality of the artwork by doing that. If you take a JPEG at 72 DPI and you raise that to a bigger size, you're going to see all those little pixels and stuff like that. It's going to look like an old video game. And we don't want it to look like that. So using a PNG file, I can really get it into where I need it to be, and it's not going to ruin the quality of that image. So once I've got all those images, I take my iPad Pro, and I'm actually going to set this all up in Procreate. I've done this a few times. One thing I like about Procreate is it's real easy to just drop those images in. I feel like I have, when I'm doing a book like this where I'm actually, printing everything and stapling and trimming and stuff myself, this gives me just a little more control over the overall book and what every page is going to look like. So we know we're using an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So I get an image of 8.5 by 11 And then I go into the canvas and I'm going to turn the drawing guide on. And then I'm going to edit the drawing guide. And I'm going to go to the grid size. I'm going to set it to inches. And I'm going to do 5.5. And what that 5.5 does, so now we're right in the middle of that piece of paper. So we know we've got one page here, one page there. And doing that just lets me know, okay, here's where I cannot have a page from this side bleeding past this line right here in the middle. The other thing that I did was I gridded out the image area of every page. And that's just to make sure that I've got every page moving forward in pretty much the same spot. So it looks right as you're flipping the pages and you're reading the book. And let me show you what that looks like. So this right here, if we take our dummy copy, so right here I knew I needed page 3 and I needed page 22 on this piece of paper. That's what's going to print on there. And so as you can see, so what's funny is, like I said, from having to make a 24-page book, page 3 is actually page 1 of the story. So right here, this is set to full bleed, and you can see on that half mark right there, I made sure we had that all completely cut off so it wouldn't show on this side once we staple and fold everything. And then as far as the whole image area of the comic, you can see that this pink area right there, it traces that. So I just wanted to get it as close as possible every single page. So once I've got this set up, we're going to do it 14 more times because we've got a front, we've got a back, and you're going to have a file for every side. Now, to make it easy for you once you're uploading this, what I recommend is numbering them. So for this one, we had the egg 2, and that's because it's going to be the second piece of paper for our book. But then I named it A. So that's just, it's egg 2 with the A side. And then for the other side, right here, I did it for the egg 2B. So this makes it easier for you, knowing you're always going to have an A, you're always going to have a B. And then also when you're sending it to the printers to have printed, hopefully that's making it easier for them to where they're not, okay, yeah, this definitely goes on this one because this is side B. So for me, I went through Best Value Copy to get this printed. They're an online copier business, and I have been using them. This is probably the 5th or 6th time I've used them. And what I really like about them is, one, they're fast. I sent this on Monday afternoon, and I received my books on Friday. Although we did have a little bit of a hiccup with this story. I had to wait to have them send a whole nother page, but that's just kind of full disclosure stuff. Like I said, I've used these guys at least 5 other times before. Never had a problem. Their printing is great. Really good prices. If you spend over $125, it's free shipping. And guys, shipping paper is really expensive because it's heavy. I mean, the stack of books I got for this was about 14 pounds, which would have been super expensive to ship. But what I really like about them is they do full bleed, and which is unusual for a copier. So if you're going to get something printed at like a Staples or a FedEx or something like that, and you want it full bleed, the only way for you to do that is to print it on a piece of paper that's bigger than the 8.5 by 11 and then trim that down, or print it on 8.5 by 11 and then trim it down to the size you want. But Best Value Copy actually does full bleed on the digest size 8.5 by 11. And I've grown to really like the way the borders are with the full digest size with these stories. So that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I'll be doing moving forward. So I'm just going to take you real fast through, once you've got all your files together, if you go through Best Value Copy, what you're going to be looking at. So we'll go to the internet. Let's see, let's just click on to the main page of Best Value Copy. And so you'll want to click on this Get Started Now. And so you're going to have to fill out quantity. So we're just going to hit 50. Now pages, you're either going to have one page or you're going to have two pages. Since we're doing front and back, this is considered 2 pages. So we're going to click on 2, and then job name, we'll just hit test. Doesn't matter. You've got your color options. You got black and white, you got color. These are going to be black and white. You've got your sides. This is going to be double-sided. Then you've got your page size. So they've got all sorts of page sizes, but we're going with the 8.5 by 11. So letter size. And then they've got a ton of different papers that you can choose from. Now for this, I just went with a 24-pound white bond. So it's just a little thicker than just normal typing paper. And then they've got the bleed option. Do you want bleed? Do you not want bleed? Yes, we want bleed. You can see that does bring your price up a little bit, but not enough to really worry about it too much. And then if you're getting other stuff done, they have lots of other options for drilling and cutting and all sorts of stuff. We don't have to worry about that because that's not what we're doing. We're going to put the rest of this together. And that's part of how you're saving some money getting your book together. So we'll just add that to the cart. And so once it goes here, you'll see you've got your job name. Now, if you were actually printing this, what I would do is I would write your job name with that same file name that you did all your pages. So, you know, egg 2A or egg 2, because you're going to upload both files to this. And it's as simple as that. You're just clicking on that. You're clicking wherever your comics are and you're uploading them. So since it's double-sided, you're going to do 2 files for each one. So that's it as far as this process. Once you're done with that, you're going to send that off to Best Value Copy and wait about the week or so for your books to arrive. Welcome to my dining room. So this is my biggest table in the house. So it's what I need for getting these books together. So laid out in front of me, I've got the guts to the comic ready to go. So we've got the 6 pieces of paper that are going to make up the 24 pages of the comic. And I've got them lined up so I can just grab one off the top and I'm good to go. Now, before we get to that part, let's talk about the only real essential tool that you're going to need when putting together a book like this. And that is a long reach stapler. These things are awesome. So if you can see how they work, I might get a little closer to the camera. You've got a ruler going along the edge right here. And for us, we're doing digest size books. So we know the width is going to be 5.5. So we want to set this little gauge here. We want to set that to 5.5. That's where the spine's going to be. And then I will show that in a little bit, but when we put the books together there and we put the staple down, that's going to get it on the spine. Now, if you want to go a little more upscale and you're planning on doing a bunch of these, they do sell something called a saddle stitch stapler, which looks kind of similar to this, only it's got like a triangle right where the staple's going to go. Kind of goes like this. And what you do is you just lay your book on that triangle and then staple, and it gets on the spine every single time. I've never invested in that. I've thought about it. But I'm kind of always going back and forth between using other printers like print on demand and stuff where I don't have to put the books together. And so it's just something I've never invested in. So now let's go ahead and get a book together. So we're taking the first one off of each of these. So we've got all 6 together like that. We're gonna put it into a neat little pile. And then we're just gonna fold. We wanna meet these corners. Get as close as possible. And then fold so we make a booklet. Now, I've seen some people, they use I believe it's called a bone folder, which is just kind of I guess it's supposed to be a white piece of bone or something like that, or a white piece of plastic, and they use it to fold the creases and stuff like that. I've never used it, just used my thumbs, never had a problem with it. So I'm just going with what God gave me. All right, so we've got our cover here. So we're gonna just throw those guts inside of the cover. Now what I like to do now is actually press it up against my chest and kind of flatten it out again. So when we take it to the stapler, it's a little easier to get that staple on the spine. Right, and that was pretty good. So I will say with these, sometimes you do have to eyeball it a little bit just to try and get it on that spine. There's definitely ones I've done where the staples are off just a little bit. I get really OCD with my books, so sometimes this part takes a while. So now I'm gonna get all these books together, and then we are gonna trim the edges a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that. But let's get these all together first.
So believe it or not, this next part was not sped up at all. If you've been putting together comic books for 25 years, yes, you too can get to this speed eventually. Just keep believing in yourself.
Okay, so we got all of our books together. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to trim the edges off of it. So if you can see there, I'll get closer to the camera. You can see some of the paper sticking out of the edges. And like I said, I get a little OCD when it comes to my books now. And I like to trim that off. So I've already trimmed some of the sides on these. We'll see how the rest go. Now to trim it, I have got this hardcore paper trimmer. And I think I ordered this on Amazon. I think it was about $100 or so. Maybe even cheaper. But I'm gonna show you how that works. So we're gonna bring the camera around. Also, fun fact, I think this might be the first time we actually have a camera person in Comics in the Making. So shout out to my daughter Eris for taking control of the camera. So what we do is you set the width of what you want to print or cut right here. So you can see you've got a ruler. And what I did was I stuck it in there and I looked where the blade was going to hit, which is on this side. There you go. It's right around there. And so, safety first. This thing has a lot of locking mechanisms, so this is how the blade comes down. It's got a little lever here that actually allows that. This blade is insanely sharp. And when I first got it, I actually had some friends over and I was showing my friend and he didn't listen to me and it cut his finger wide open. So when you're dealing with a paper cutter on this level, it's really important to be safe. So I'm actually gonna try cutting like 5 books at a time. Like I said, this thing is hardcore, and we'll see if it'll take that many. So to get them in place, you're actually gonna clamp them down. So there's this little roller thing here, and we want to get that nice and tight. And then we're gonna take the safety lock off, put that down, and cut. Oh man, we should get a shot of that coming from the other side because it's pretty cool. On the next one, we'll do that just for fun. So we've got those cut. Let's unclamp them. And so we have 4 that came out pretty good. Now I've got a chip in the blade, and I meant to bring it down here and I forgot. So we got a few that are a little messed up, but you know what? These are homemade comics, and it just adds a little bit to the uniqueness of them. So this didn't quite do it. Let's see, let's grab some scissors. Just get that the rest of the way off. Not perfect, maybe not one I'm gonna sell. So we're gonna try that again. We'll throw that in the pile. That's gonna be one. I'm gonna have some giveaways that I'm gonna give to people. But it took 5, pretty good. So let's try that again. We're just gonna show off what it's doing on this side, but I'm gonna bring it all the way down here to try and avoid that chip in the blade. Now this is one thing when it comes to the printing. If you're wanting to trim, you're gonna have to have a nice hardcore paper cutter like this. You're not going to be able to go to Office Depot or Staples and get a trimmer like this. Right. Oh, look at that. I'm going to really try and get on it. Try and get that last bit. Now unclamp it. Oh, there we go. That's pretty much perfect. A little bent up here at the top. You know what? I'll take it though, for the most part. And as someone who likes making their own books, and I love seeing people make their own books, I really love having that smooth edge right there. All right, I'm gonna do this like 10 more times, and you will see me for the outro. Thanks for checking out the video. I really appreciate it. I hope you found it somewhat informative. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and once you've done all of that, head over to my Etsy shop so you can get your very own copy of The Egg. I only printed about 50 copies of this, and I don't plan on reprinting them anytime soon, so go get it while you still can. All right, until next time, just do the damn thing.